Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how I made this cute little felted fairy door. So let's get started. Beginning with a base of 100% wool felt by Dimensions. I got this I think at Michael's with a coupon because that's always nice. And normally I would have used a bit of scrap, but I was all out. So I'm just going to go ahead, remove the tape from this. There will be links down in the video description below. These are Amazon affiliate links, so anything that you purchase through them greatly helps our business. So I really appreciate that. But it's mostly there. The links are to give you an idea of what we're getting, and then you can go and find your own your own local store or something to get them from. But there'll be links to all the different tools and materials I'm using here down below, or at least as close as what I can find. I'm using a wool felting mat, which is just perfect. I love it. So yeah, we'll roll that out. And I'm only going to be making like a little thing, but I am going to go ahead and cut out just a square of it. It's a good bit larger, I think, than what I need, but I'd rather give myself just a little too much canvas space than not enough. So there we are, and this looks to be about 2 inches by 2.5 inches. So there is that. And I'm going through with some very nice different colors of roving that look like this whenever you pull them out of the bag and untie them. And I'm going to begin using our dark brown. Also, I'm using about a medium triangle shaped needle today, and then some large triangle shaped needles. But anytime that, whether you're using wool or a foam mat or just whatever you're using, I try to make sure that I can't, even if I stab like super hard, that I can't get all the way through the mat. I want it to be thicker than the length of my needle. Just because it really helps save your needles. Okay, so, and you can see I've untied it, and it's actually a fair bit. And I'm just going to separate off some and start spreading it. I want to get it to where it'll be nice and almost cobwebby at first, and then I can start shaping it. So I've tucked in the sides, and I'm going to fold over like that. And so you can see here we're starting to get the little shape for our door. I'm not going to have it go all the way down to the bottom. And I'm doing this in a very similar style as to what I've done some of my polymer clay fairy houses, just because that's kind of the design that's fresh in my mind. But you could draw something up first, you could do a great variety of things. Okay, and so I'm just going to try to tack down the edges first, just coming through, focusing on not necessarily a vertical or horizontal, but I want to make sure whenever I insert my needle, my felting needle, that I am not bending it, like inserting it and then bending. Like you want to put as little stress on the needle as possible. So I'm just coming in through the sides, very messy, but just trying to get a rough idea of it right now. And then once I've started to get it tacked in, I can grab any excess with my thumb and just kind of brush it into the direction that I'd like for it to lay, and then start tacking down from there. So now you can see we have a nice little, almost gothic arch door, maybe. And reference pictures can really help a lot. So if you have like a piece of art or a photograph or something in mind, feel free to, use that just to keep yourself, on course. I've done entire pieces with just a single felting needle, but I did want to show the effect that this multi-needle tool can have. Which these are really great for whenever you're trying to do like large projects. And just get everything tacked down all at once. Now I don't want this super dense, like perfectly felted right now, because we're going to be adding a bunch of layers, and I kind of want that to blend nicely, but I did want to get it started. But wouldn't recommend this tool for detail work, but if you think this is something you're going to be doing a lot, it might be worth the investment. And so now we have this kind of medium brown that we can come in. Just pull a little bit off. And I just wanted to do some little lines with it. Like give ourselves quite a thin bit. And so you can see we have that there. And then you can just twist and lay. See how that didn't really do much at all to get it to stay on there. But yeah, I'm just going to lay down our lines, holding it on either end, and then there we go. It's starting to take hold, and it'll shrink your line down a little bit. You know, as you stab it in, it kind of pulls it in, and that was too little. But don't hesitate to experiment a little bit and see what the right amount is for, you know, your project, the type of yarn that you're using, or wool that you're using. That seems to be a better amount. Just coming through, stabilizing those lines in. And also you can definitely use a ruler to guide your needle. You see how I'm using it just kind of straight up and down? And this way I can really make sure that all of my little stabs are going in the same place. I'm going to leave this excess up at the top for now, because I've got an idea for what we'll do with that. So again, twisting it a bit just to contain all the fibers of the roving, and coming in loosely at first. Trying to keep my fingers out of the way. And now I'm going to use that ruler to just line it up. And I'm coming in not perfectly parallel, but just enough that it just slides down the surface of our ruler. Let me turn this so my hands are a little less in the way maybe. So see how that's working? Hopefully. I've just rearranged my craft room, so I have a new camera set up, and I'm trying to get the hang of it, and I don't quite have the hang of it. There we are. So there's another line for our door. Because these are, well, I could just throw that on the ground too. That works. These are like the lines of like the wood slat of the door. We have a little bit here. Let's go ahead and pull off another piece. It didn't hurt to got a bottle with some condensation, but it doesn't hurt to get a little bit of moisture on your fingers just to twist your roving, get it to behave a bit. So there we are. Not quite twisting it into yarn, but just trying to get it to be a nice straight, even line. And then coming through and tacking it down. And you can see how the needle's pulling all of those little fibers through to the back, lining our ruler up. Sorry, I feel like the lighting's quite poor. I'm just doing the best I can, but hopefully you can see what it is that I'm doing here. It's winter now, so it gets dark at like 6:30. Well, not winter, it's fall, but may as well be. Feels like we skipped fall this year and just went straight into being cold. So that extra bit that's coming off the tops and bottoms, I'm just bringing around and tacking in like that. Wooch. Careful to not get your fingers in the way. Oh, okay, didn't draw blood. I try to not bleed on my projects if at all possible. With most of the time that's easy enough, but with needle felting it can be easier said than done for sure. So now I'm just going around the border of our door, cleaning these lines up a little bit. I think I'm going to grab up some black roving to get some nice accents on this as well. This is either a black or a very dark brown, so yeah, it's a very dark brown, but I think that'll work just fine. So again, just a very slight little bit. We can always add more unless we run out. Okay, so I'm just getting that lined up. And I think we would have gotten a really nice result from marbling this pumpkin-y tan in with our dark brown to start with, and then going through and doing the dark lines. But experimentation is the spice of life, and that's very, very applicable with things like being crafty. So yeah, that ended up just covering it up, but that's okay. I kind of like that better. So live and learn. And what's nice is these small batches of dyed roving can be quite affordable. So you can feel free to experiment. You know, it's not like we're embroidering with gold thread here. We can afford a few mess ups. We can afford a little bit of, no, that's not what I planned, but that's what's happening, and that's okay. It's now coming through and doing our little ruler trick again. Just getting that nice and lined up. Step, step, step. Step, step, step. There we go. Getting just a little layers going. And so now I try to not really drag with the needle at all, but it can be effective to test and see where it needs tacked down a little better, as well as to gather the fibers. Excuse me. For just guiding them around. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. It's just taking this and guiding those fibers around and just adding a nice little dark outline to our door. And here I'm just placing it. Let me zoom in a bit for you. and then pulling our tail off to the side. This way it's going to keep a nice 90-degree, a nice sharp bend in it, instead of 90 degrees, but, and then I'm just going to come through and tack it on in. And I'm trying to come in at an angle to where it almost puts it behind the brown of the wood of the door. Okay, now this one I'm going to do off in the other direction. I don't like having to cut or trim my roving, so any way that I can avoid having just odd little bits and pieces floating around, I'd rather, you know, tuck it into the project if I can. That's just me though, you do you. And of course we can bring that around and highlight it a bit. Bringing this one around. This time I'm pinning with my fingernail. Dab, dab, dab. There we are. So see how that's coming out? Can't really tell that it's a fairy door yet, but you can use your imagination and just pretend with me for a little while until it starts to look more like what it's going to be. I like to place it and then use my fingers to more or less pin it down and then build out from the center. So there we are. So it's coming out nicely. Checking the back. It's so much easier, I think, to do like to build projects on top of pre-felted wool, like how we're doing here, as opposed to I had done another video where we started from absolute scratch and built up our own, and it's just a lot easier, I think, using the pre-made wool. But if I had to invest in one or the other, I would invest in the roving as opposed to the sheets of wool. But it's quite a luxury to be able to have both. Again, just, I mean, this is a lot of stabbing. I'm doing this one in real time because I wanted you guys to get a solid idea of actually how much time is going into this. Because needle felting can be quite time consuming, but that's all right. Bringing that around. And so now here across the bottom, I want to get a much sharper bottom of the door. So I'm going to come in and use our ruler again. Just placing it. And so that gave us a nice line for the bottom. Then I'm going to go ahead and bind that up. Now this would definitely be the kind of thing that if you enjoy embroidery, you could definitely embroider around. You could do a little French knot for the door handle or just whatever makes you happy. I'm going to pull off just a little bit more for up here at the top. Just bringing that around. And I'm just going to do a kind of loose tacking on this because next we get to start adding the stonework. and this will get retacked over quite a bit, I am sure. There we are. Okay, so for our stones, I am using, where'd you go? 3 tones. Here I have a medium gray, a very dark gray, like almost a bluish dark gray. Keep your color theory in mind, because tones that are cooler will look farther away, so it will help. How is this even knotted? It will help give, you know, the illusion of depth, more depth than what might actually be there. Oh boy. There we go. So that's our dark tone, and then a very light gray for a highlight. Again, doing more depth. Anything to give it that extra little bit of, for lack of a better term, rendering, really. Okay. So I'm going to start with the medium tone, and I'm just pulling off a pinch. It's quite a big pinch, actually. Well, we'll start with that just to see. And I'm going to roll it together into a little ball. And that did come out quite a bit bigger than what I think I wanted it to be, but we will see how it compacts down. So again, I'm placing it and tacking next to the door because I don't want there to be too much overlapping here to start with. Oh, get off there. There we go. There we are. So see how that's kind of happening? So there's that. And then we can actually take just a little bit of this very dark. That is just the stringiest little bit of yarn, roving, whatever, wool. And coming around our edge and giving ourselves a bit of recessing into shadow. Clippity cloppity of the dog toenails. Bless you, puppy. Okay. So bringing that in, and then a very fine pinch, like very fine pinch of our light color. And I'm just folding and rolling until we have just a little spot. See how if that even works out that well. Okay, that was a little too focused, so I'm actually going to take some more gray, like our medium tone, and mix that in on top of it. There we go. And that way we have just a spot of it. And so now we can go around and do some more stones. And now we could actually felt this with some soap and hot water first. So that's something to keep in mind. You could make like little felted stones and then put them on. So I'm going to keep just pulling off little bits. I mean, it only takes just that little bit. And then rolling it. So you can get quite a few made first. And then hopefully make some stones out of it. So I do believe I'm going to throw this bit into time lapse. I know I was saying I was going to do it real time, but this is going to be quite time consuming, but I am going to try to get the whole process on video for you. But there we go. Actually, you know, YouTube has a feature where you can throw it into 2x speed yourself. Let's do this in real time. Okay, so I got that tacked down. And I'm just tacking down around the door frame to start with. So I am no mason, so these stones are not being properly positioned or anything. It is just a rubble of rocks, but fortunately, fairies and gnomes and such don't really need proper architecture. And see, this shrinks it down a little bit as we get that felted in. I guess that gives us a little bit more space to do the shading in between, but still. There we are. Just tearing off some more little pieces. And again, just positioning our stones and tacking it in. I kind of love just the sound of needle felting. And there we go. So it doesn't take too long. It's a little bit slower, I think, than polymer clay, for me at least, but then again, I've been working with polymer clay much longer than I've been working with felt. There we go. I think this will be the last stone, maybe. Let's see what, ooh, that made a big one. See if we can't compact that down a little bit. Yeah, that packed down nicely. Some nice lumpy little rocks. Okay, so I've pulled off, and I mean just a bit. Let's see what cutting does for this. Old rusted squeaky scissors. So I'm cutting this quite small, but now we can take and just a patch of it and just felt that directly on quite haphazardly. To what seems like might be the right spot of the rocks. I just wanted a little bit of color variation in there. mixing in a little bit of the fibers. I wonder if next time, if mixing in some to the gray might be the way to go, about it. Because I don't want it to be quite so polka dot, you know? But I need it to be more than that for sure. I don't know, I really enjoy experimenting and stuff. Like, that was probably my favorite thing when crafting, is to just try something just for the heck of it. If it doesn't work out, we still learned something, hopefully. That's my goal, at least. Okay, so now we can pull off some threads of our black. Or rather, our very bluey dark gray. And positioning this, I'm just going to take it and tack it in between some stones. And then guiding it around, go ahead and tack that, bend it around. Yeah, I think that's a little bit faster than doing it a stone at a time. And coming in at a side angle here, trying to get it to be a little like underneath. Because even though this is flat, there's still an element of like a three-dimensional feel to it. You know, it's not perfectly flat. I'm just making a little spot to fill in right there, where our stone is a little farther away from the door. And then pulling off a line. Twisting it. Oof, I bet drop spindling yarn would be just one of the most time-consuming things, but part of me still really wants to do it. It's like, Vaughn, what's wrong with you? I don't know, I like crafting. Okay, so bringing that up. And for those of y'all out there who are more experienced needle felters or have a better idea of what you're doing, I'd love to hear from you. Just any tips, tricks of the trade kind of stuff, that things that you wish you had known when you were starting out, or you know, anything like that. I feel like a lot of y'all really enjoy my tutorials, but I feel like I learned so much from y'all that that I feel like I'm getting the better end of the deal out of this. Step, step, step. So it's coming out quite nice, I think. Ooh. Yeah, this little bit, I think I'm gonna need to find my dog brushes that I use for making acrylic fur out of acrylic yarn, and see if I can't recard some of this stuff to get it to lay in the right direction, or rather the direction I want it to be in. Just thickening down the tail end of there we are. I just love the soft, almost impressionistic look of needle felting. Though, yeah, mine's impressionistic because it looks like, you know, somebody's looking at a blurry oil painting with a blurry filter on. But there are some folks out there who like, I mean, crisp and amazing and just so lifelike with their needle felting. So that's goals, but I'm pretty happy to just be where I'm at. You know, it's okay to be a seed. It's okay to be a seedling, to be new at what you're doing and kind of bumbling around with it. Because never again will you be as new to something as you are right at the moment. And that's okay. All things in their time. Stab, stab, stab. And there we are. And now I'm actually going to use, ooh, I know I want the doorknob to be the same golden wood color. So I'm going to pull off a little bit of this. I'm going to have the doorknob be on this side. So I'm going to deepen that in just a little bit more. And then take that and stab. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, stab, 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 stab. There we go. Yeah, you'll get a lot farther, it seems, with one or with multiple shallow stabs, pokes, prods, than what you will with one deep one. So we'll get the hang of it though. So there's our little doorknob. I just actually imprinted a little bit more than what I wanted it to be. Maybe we can do a little bit of a dark knob on top of it. Get some 3D effects going on here. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Just getting that kind of down and in the rest of the way. So there's our little fairy door, and we could stop here, but I want to do a little bit of a threshold. So I'm just folding this a little into shape. And then before I felt it in, I'm going to try what we had talked about. Maybe. See if we can't line a little bit of that up. Get a little bit of this in there also. And then, ooh, that's too much. Let's try just the two colors for now. Okay, so there we have, oh, that's a big old threshold though, isn't it? Okay. Got that there. Done. We're done. No. No, we gotta get that tacked in. So I'm just, again, focusing on making sure that I'm stabbing. I want to leave that line there. Yeah, blending in the lighter color right from the beginning gets me much more of the kind of marbled result that I was looking for. Okay, there's that. And now we can come through with our dark bit. And get that on in there. So with some strategically aimed needle stabs, you can really reduce a thick line down into a thinner one. Grabbing a little bit of that gray, because it's a little too dark right there. Oh boy, it's a bunch of gray. Maybe? Oh, let's try. Fold that back over from whence we came. And then just, I like to kind of, I don't know, tornado it down in, and then, yeah, I don't know if that accomplished anything, but I liked doing it, so there's that. So there's our little threshold. And now I'm going to bag these guys up because I can always get them back out later, but my work surface is starting to get a little away from me. But yeah, I really am 100% in love with needle felting, because short of stabbing myself, it is the softest craft that I do, and it's really nice to have a break from pliers and cold metal and, you know, things like that. Oh boy. And especially now that, you know, summer's come to an end, it's chilly, we've got the heater on, I've got a blanket on. It's just nice to work with fluffy little bits of roving. Okay, so I'm trying to think of how we're going to do some greenery to frame this. And something that we can do is just make some vines. So I'm going to take a modeling of our 3 tones of green. Got a light, a medium, and a dark. There's not much of a difference, but those layers, though, really start to show through. At least it makes me happy. And quite frankly, sometimes that's all that matters. Is whenever you're crafting, just do your own thing. You get it. If it makes you happy, then it was worth it. Okay. So I'm going to make a couple of little vines. And, yeah, I'm actually, for the sake of experimenting, let's try doing some just out of single colors. Nah, I'm going to mix these two together. I lied. Okay, and then this one will be the one that we do just by itself as a single color. Okay, and so I've got it twisted a bit, and I've put a fold into it. I'm going to take this fold, and I'm going to start from here, and just stab in, just tacking the end down. And this one I'm going to use the full length of. So I'm going to do the fold quite close to the end. Tack it down. And this one I'm going to do, you know, maybe 2/3 on one side, 1/3 on another. And tack it down. And so now we have some little vines growing out of our door. And I'm going to tack it as we move along. I'm just twisting it and letting it kind of grow up around our door frame. Now right here, I'm going to lay my needle down and do a little bit of a bend in it, just to loop it, but that loop is going to become like a little leaf on our vine, maybe. I don't know, kind of just messing around. And then we can have it travel down into our stonework too. There we are. And so now we can put some nice twists in this. And if you twist it enough, it'll go ahead and throw a loop. So you can go ahead and just start tacking that down. Now this one's getting way more climby, like over the door and stuff. And you don't have to, ouch, you don't have to add the vine work, but I wanted to show you guys just some different options. And again, the vine work could be something that you could just as easily embroider on. But yeah, I'm just going to fold that around. And instead of felting the entire thing in, I'm just going to focus on the base. Excuse me. And see if I can't leave a little puff coming up. Or a bunch of puffs. Well, that's neat. It's kind of taken the whole thing in a little. So that gobbled up all that roving pretty quickly. And there's the heater coming on, so sorry for the background noise. But now from here, we're simple, I think beginner-friendly fairy door. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some sharp scissors and just trim there off the bottom. And using these 2 bead organizer caps, I'm just going to hold it like this. And just clean up this edge. Oops. You want to be careful to not poke through to the front though. But if that happens, you can come through and just tidy it up a bit. But yeah, I'm going to continue trimming around our edge here. And this would be definitely the kind of thing to have like a template or, you know, anything like that. It would help make it a little neater or symmetrical, but I'm not too worried about symmetry. And then you could, you know, felt this onto something else, build up more stones around it if you wanted a more three-dimensional piece. Like lay this on another piece of felt and add in, you know, your little sculpture bits. I think to cover up the back, I would use like a piece of suede or maybe a piece of finer felt, something that you don't mind the feel of against your skin, and do either a whip stitch or a blanket stitch or something decorative around the edge to hold that on, and make it into like a pendant or something that you could wear. There's so many different options and ideas with this, and we can try them all. Hey y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with me in this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun felting a fairy door. This was actually my first time doing this, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I'm really glad to have shared that experience with you. But if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. There are links to all the tools and materials, all my different social media and things, and Patreon and all that good stuff down in the video description. If you enjoy my free tutorials and you've already liked and subscribed, but you'd like to support us more, we do have pledges over on Patreon where you can pledge as little as $1. But the more you pledge, the more you get, whether it's behind the scenes content, digital download stuff, coloring pages, monthly craft crates. We have a lot going on over there, so be sure to check it out. And also we have quite a bit for even if you're not a pledger. Like you can participate in our polls and things. All you need is a Patreon account. So, and I'm probably most active on Patreon as opposed to like Facebook or Instagram or something. So thank you again for hanging out with me, and I will see y'all in the next video. So until then, happy crafting. Bye.